Welcome to another Rolled in Reacts episode. This 2014 Chevy Impala came in on a tow truck because it wouldn't start after the customer had it in for some electrical work at a different shop just 7 days ago. This customer's Toyota Tundra came in for its first oil change in 75,000 miles, and when asked why they didn't come in sooner, the customer just replied, "Because it's a Tundra, I didn't think they needed oil changes." The owner of this Hyundai came in with starting issues and a stereo that wasn't working after they had installed a new sound system together with a friend 4 days prior. And this customer had another shop do a tire rotation for them, but it went a bit so-and-so. Customer came in saying, "My car has started playing theme songs from old Western movies. Please check and advise." This pretty much brand new Lincoln Corsair rolled in after the customer said that they had started getting a vibration in the steering wheel for the past 2 to 3 months, but had kept driving since they thought it was probably something wrong with the road and not their car. This Chevy Silverado 1500 HD rolled in because the customer said it accelerated like an older gentleman trying to cross the street with a walker on a Sunday afternoon. Turned out to be a pretty crooked tailpipe. And apparently, this customer's favorite movie is Mad Max. This guy came in after he had tried installing new brake pads for the first time using a YouTube tutorial. This heavy-duty pickup rolled in after the customer said they heard a loud metallic noise and lost all power while they were doing 100 miles an hour on the freeway. Turns out that the customer had been to the shop a few weeks prior because of an issue with the all-wheel drive, but had decided to wait for their next paycheck before fixing it. And this customer had painted his engine bay all by himself. This customer had apparently stanced out their old brick Volvo about a month prior, but came in after they had hit one pothole too many. When your car looks more like a Swiss cheese than a car, it's probably time for a new one. This Subaru rolled in with some electrical problems and the customer said, "I usually take my car to the same garage, but I wanted to save some cash this time, so my nephew did some wiring work on it for free." Customer states, "Tire leak after they hit like a small lug nut or something on the road. Wants to make sure it's not too expensive of a job before approving repairs." Customer states, "Car doesn't want to start, has tried everything under the sun." Can you help this customer figure out what the problem might be? Oh yeah, it's one of those new scree brake rotors. The owner of this BMW was in for a new servo pump, but forgot to mention to the mechanics that he also installed a lowering kit on it by himself the week before. The owner of this car came in saying, "Friend of mine said he'd easily be able to squeeze an extra 30 horsepower out of my car, so I let him tune it, but now it's even slower than before." And this car came in because the customer said it was all over the road after they had installed a sportier suspension that they apparently found on Temu. The owner of this Lincoln came in after he had tried installing a new fuel pump by himself, but had just caused a mess and had to come in to get some proper help. "Here's your problem, sir." Customer came in saying that his car runs a bit hot and thinks it might need new coolant. Customer was in with their truck for some brake work when the mechanic noticed a pretty strange detail. When asked about it, the customer apparently said, "It's for aerodynamic purposes." And this car came in with suspension in shockingly bad condition. The owner of this car rolled in saying that he can't have automatic braking turned on because the car keeps braking at random all the time and he thought it might be a software issue. And this customer said that she can't refuel her truck no matter how much she tries. Customer states, "My girlfriend's car needs an oil change. Please advise." Just an oil change, huh? Customer states, "Turning radius on my new Mercedes is too tight." Yeah, all good. This car came in after the customer had attempted to fix a brake leak by himself, but it wasn't super successful. And this car came in on a tow truck after the customer hit a sinkhole that had suddenly formed in front of them while driving to the grocery store. Customerstates slammed the brakes to avoid hitting a cat on the road, but ever since, the brakes have felt different. The owner of this Dodge rolled in because they had a whining noise after another shop that was apparently really cheap had installed a new timing chain together with an improvised tensioner. There's a reason it's cheap, folks. This car came in because the owner said somebody had glued the washer fluid cap shut because it was nearly impossible to open. And this pickup truck came in on a tow truck because it didn't want to go into driver reverse after the customer said he hit what looked like an oversized hockey puck on his way to the grocery store. And sometimes you just gotta make do with what you have. This car came in on a tow truck because it wouldn't start. I wonder why. This customer had fixed their SUV's rake in their very own particular way and came in to ask the mechanic if he thought everything looked solid. And the owner of this car came in with one of the most unique oil leaks the mechanics had ever seen. This car came in on a tow truck after the customer said that she had lost all keys to it and wanted new ones programmed, but it only took the mechanic about 5 minutes to fix the problem. The owner of this Lincoln MKX came in because they had a steering issue after they had done some tweaking of the tie rod ends to get a better connection with the road when driving. This customer had installed some new brake calipers by himself, but had apparently misplaced the caliper bolts and had to improvise a bit instead. This car was in for an oil change when the mechanic noticed the state of the timing belt. When told about it, the customer said, "I only know how to drive and put gas in it. I don't know nothing about what's going on under the hood." This car comes with foldable mirrors, but not exactly the kind you'd expect. The owner of this Nissan was in for an exhaust leak when the mechanic noticed that the tires were pretty well used. When told about it, the customer just replied, "You might not enjoy walking on thin ice, but I do." Customer states, wobbly steering wheel at all speeds. Please advise. Customer states, car is really hard to stop, even though I just installed new brakes. This mechanic was trying to turn off this old school generator for about 2 hours before he finally got it. Simplicity. This car came in because the customer said it had poor acceleration and had started to make a strange sound ever since their grandson had borrowed it 2 weekends prior to go see his friends. The owner of this Mercedes G-Class came in saying they have a clattering sound that's gradually gotten worse over the past couple of weeks. Turns out that somebody that likes honey roasted nuts had moved into the car and kept a little stash inside one of the doors. This Ford van was just in for an oil change when the mechanic noticed that it actually was quite a piece of art. When asked about it, the customer said that he's done all the work on it himself, together with his cousin, and that he's also learned everything he knows from his uncle, Big Bob Towhead. This car rolled in because the customer complained about a clunking sound after they had recently done some work at a different shop. And this customer had changed his air filter all by himself, but had to come in because the car had really sluggish acceleration. The owner of this car rolled in because they said that it shifted really poorly. Once the mechanic opened up the transmission, he found all this plastic debris floating around in there. And this car rolled in because the owner said that the brake pedal had started to feel mushy lately, even though they just had it in for some new brake pads at a different shop the week before. And this customer was on his way to the shop with his old truck and was filming his friend towing him when this happened. This Chevy Silverado came in because the customer said that the cab feels loose when driving on the highway, and this is how the cab mounting bolts looked like when the mechanic had it on the lift. And this customer had to come in because their truck wouldn't start anymore after they had gone mud racing with it and accidentally ended up getting stuck in a deep puddle. And this engine had started telling some pretty good knock-knock jokes. This car came in because the owner has had a scraping sound that gets louder and louder while accelerating, ever since they were on a yard sale a few days ago. And hopefully this customer has some good quality car insurance. The owner of this poor car had been in for an oil change at a quick lube shop 10 days prior, but had to come in because the car had started to run really badly. The mechanic found that whoever did the oil change had made a dog's breakfast out of the drain plug threads and also installed the wrong sized oil filter, which had caused the engine to run pretty much bone dry. Customer came in saying that his cabin fan has started sounding like his wife before she's had her first cup of coffee for the day. And this customer came in saying that they had just fired the car up and wanted to impress their girlfriend by revving it a bit, but heard a loud metallic clunk and rattling sound before the engine shut itself off. And when Shrek piss starts coming out of your car, you're probably overdue for maintenance. Customer came in complaining about a vibration when driving on the highway, and this is what the mechanics found. This customer said that he had hired a mobile mechanic to come pick his car up for some maintenance, and this is apparently their pickup and delivery service. Hey, if it works, it works! And this customer was in with her Honda because it was really difficult to get into gear, and this is what the clutch looked like. The owner of this car had a long-time dream to go camping with his car, so he had equipped it with some cooking gear all by himself and wanted the mechanic to make sure the installation would pass a safety inspection. The owner of this BMW M4 had only bought it 6 months ago, but said that it already feels unstable and wobbly when driving at higher speeds, for some unknown reason. This guy had been to the shop a week prior for an oil change when the mechanics insisted that he should get some new winter tires and brakes installed, which he then refused, but had to come into the shop a week later because he got a dose of instant karma. And this almost brand new SUV came in because it already had a broken suspension link after the customer had just picked it up from the dealership 5 days prior. This customer came in with their project car asking the mechanic to list the things needed to be repaired. The mechanic recommended the customer to get a new project car instead. This Ford pickup came in because the turbo had blown up after the customer recently installed a new oil pan at a different shop. Turns out that the other shop had installed the oil pan with the protective plastic still on, which had melted and ended up clogging the flow of oil to the turbo. And this is eventually what happens when you don't slow down before them speed bumps. And this customer had let their buddy do some brake work on their car for a pack of beer, but had to come in a week later because the car had a loud clunk when braking and was really hard to stop. Customerstates had her younger brother install new belts on her car, but now it whines a lot and has started to smell weird. Customerstates, truck's mirrors do more use to other drivers than to me. Please advise. Something's not right here. This Dodge Ram 1500 came in with quite the oil leak after the customer had done some work on the exhaust manifold, all by himself. And this 2024 pickup only has 3,000 miles on it, but has already managed to overheat a couple of times. Customer states, car feels jerky, but only when braking. Please advise. This guy had installed a new sound system and thought it needed some more juice, so he had a friend help him with the wiring, but had to come in because the car now refused to start. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get that premium garage support. The owner of this car came in after they hit a curb a bit faster than normal. Customer states, the stupid car door won't open again. Please advise. And this car was in because the owner had a loud sound coming from the wheels after they had let another shop do some suspension work on it. The owner of this car came in complaining about a steering wheel vibration after her father-in-law had helped her with a seasonal tire swap. This customer came in saying that they recently switched their automatic for a manual, but that they've had some troubles adjusting to it and that it has started to get difficult to get it in gear. This Nissan Altima came in because it had a bit of a leak after the customer had hit a rock on the road and tried fixing the damage by himself. Customerstates, starting issues, recently had it in for a new valve cover gasket at another shop. And this customer woke up one day and decided it was a great idea to decorate his car with aluminum foil because why not? And this car came in with quite the oil leak after the owner said he thinks he hit something that was rolling around on the highway when he was driving home from work. This customer came in complaining about a clunking sound after he had been driving through a small village on an unmarked road. Customer came in saying that they had just bought the car off Facebook Marketplace and had picked up one of their friends to take it for a little joyride when they suddenly heard a loud metallic noise followed by the hood flying open. And this customer said he refilled his washer fluid tank with water, but that he's had a knocking sound ever since. This customer came in with their motorbike saying it was impossible to get it running after they had borrowed it to a friend over the weekend. Turns out that the clutch was totally destroyed. Customer came in complaining about a steering wheel vibration and that their brakes feel weak and wanted it fixed. Turns out that they were missing a few parts. This is what happens when you pour stuff into the engine that should actually go into your coolant system. And this customer couldn't figure out how to keep their window rolled up. Customer states, so my car was pulling to one side for a while, but I figured out a way to fix it myself. Customer states, his pickup leaks washer fluid. Nothing has been done to the vehicle other than the customer installing some rock lights a few days ago. The owner of this car had gone through 4 new car batteries in less than 3 months and couldn't for the life in him figure out what the problem was. He said that he installed a new sound system 6 months ago, but that it should be totally fine since he's done it many times before. Anyone want some chocolate fondue? And luckily, this was the lift's last day at work before getting replaced. Looks great! This field mechanic was doing some work on this Caterpillar 69-liter V16 natural gas engine that was involved in a bit of an accident, which had caused pretty much all of the coolant to leak into the crankcase. This customer's Tundra was in because it had started to pull to one side when driving on the freeway. This car was in because the customer complained about a strange rattling sound at higher speeds after they got their engine bay cleaned by a remote car washing company. Turned out to be the battery cover that had gone on a little adventure. This car came in because it wouldn't start after an empty portable toilet had fallen out of a car in front of them on the highway and bounced on the hood, which had caused some pretty serious engine damage. And you know, electrical tape is great for many things. Fixing brake lines, however, is not one of them. And this customer rolled in because they had a clunking sound when turning after they recently had outer tie rod ends installed at another shop. Turns out they were barely even installed. Customer states, had the car parked close to a large dirt pile for about 2 weeks while I was on vacation, but I found a bunch of squatters when I came back. And the owner of this car had tuned up their exhaust system a bit because they wanted their car to sound unique. The owner of this car had it in because they had started hearing a hissing sound from behind the dash, and this is what the mechanics found. Thankfully, the snake was alive and well and was taken to an animal shelter where it eventually found its way back to its owner. The owner of this car came in as they had a bad steering wheel vibration. Turns out that the customer has bad eyesight and had used an air pump at his local gas station and accidentally entered the wrong PSI number. Talk about a close call. This customer's SUV was in because it wouldn't move forwards or backwards anymore, but the customer stated that regular maintenance has been performed yearly. When finding the cause of your broken air condition is harder than finding a needle in a haystack. And this, folks, is what happens when you zip tie your calipers instead of bolting them down. Customer states, let my stepson borrow the truck for a week, but he came back with it on a tow truck saying he's sorry. This customer's vehicle was in because it had started to lean heavily to one side after the customer hit a speed bump doing 50 miles per hour. And this customer desperately wanted their interior to be tan instead of black, so they had taken things into their own hands. Customer came in saying that their minivan felt like driving a living room on wheels, but that they had fixed it themselves and just wanted the mechanics to do a tire rotation. This Mitsubishi was in because it had started to run really rough, but when the customer was asked when he last had an oil change, he just went, "Oh, I have a guy that does it for me every year for like $40 or something. I just bring him the oil and then he does it." Why do you ask? Customer states, I feel every inch of every bump and hole I drive over. Please advise. DIY waterfall coming in 3, 2, 1. It ain't got no gas in it. Looks great. Customer states, friend of mine did some brake work for me, but on my way home I had to slam the brakes to avoid hitting a rooster on the road. Wheel has been dragging ever since. Please advise. And this customer came in saying, no matter how much washer fluid I put in this thing, it's always gone the next day. Also, I've been getting a knocking sound the past few days. Please advise. The owner of this Genesis G70 had it in for an oil change at a quick lube shop, but they had apparently improvised a bit when reinstalling the underplate, and the customer now had a rattling noise at idle. Customer states, drove through what looked like a small puddle, but turned out to be a clogged manhole without a cover. Please advise. The owner of this Toyota had parked it on the street the night before, and when they went to go to work the next morning, they found someone had stolen one of the wiper arms. This car came in because the transmission had all but given up after the customer had another shop do some work on the washer fluid tank for them about a year ago. Turns out that the other shop had connected the washer fluid tank hose to a transmission vent, and every time they washed off their windshield, washer fluid was pushed everywhere but on the windshield. The owner of this Opel Corsa had gotten a great deal on it at a local auction and came in for a post-purchase inspection. Maybe not such a great deal after all. This engine came out of a customer's dirt bike who had been speeding to get to his new girlfriend the night before when the bike had just shut off on him while he was doing 90 miles an hour. This Chrysler minivan came in because the owner said that it had started to vibrate a lot at higher speeds. Upon inspection, the mechanic discovered that someone had fixed the rear axle in a pretty interesting way. The owner of this car rolled in saying, I just replaced the brake pads last month at another shop, so how can I still have squeaky brakes? This car came in after the wheel almost fell off due to a bad wheel bearing and hub assembly that the customer had not wanted to repair the week before when they were in for an oil change. This customer rolled in because their car had turned into a steam train after they had topped up their coolant with water while on a long road trip across the country. The mechanic found that the car will most likely need an engine replacement. And this customer complained about a nasty smell in the driver's cab and wanted the mechanic to change the cabin air filter and also have a proper look and make sure nothing had gotten stuck in the air vents. This customer came in with their truck like this after their stepbrother had done some welding on the subframe for them for free. I can see why it was for free. The owner of this car came in because one of their tires kept deflating after they had a flat fixed not too long ago at a different shop. This Mazda rolled in for an alignment when the mechanics discovered it needed a whole lot more than just that. And this guy had their buddy help them fix their truck's engine fan, but now it felt sluggish when driving, and they also had a pretty awful smell coming from the engine. The owner of this car came in complaining about a humming noise and vibrating seats when driving on the highway. Customer states, strange rattling sound coming from back seat when driving at higher speeds. Please check and advise. This car came in because the owner complained about a steering wheel vibration after they had balanced their wheels at a different shop a week prior. Customer states, I've had a small tire leak since last Friday when I hit a curbside a bit harder than what I normally do. Please check and advise. The owner of this Chevy Silverado came in complaining about it sounding hella loud at all speeds and said he thinks it's because they hit a bag of Cheetos on the highway the day before. Must have been one hell of a bag of Cheetos. And this Volkswagen came in because the owner had started hearing a strange sound when driving after he had replaced the transmission together with his father. Yummy. The owner of this Dodge had it in for its first oil and filter change in 3.5 years, and this is how the air filter looked. This customer's Jeep came in because it has a noise from the front drivetrain and the traction control light is always on, after the customer had installed a lift kit on it together with a friend the weekend prior. This vehicle rolled in because it had stopped moving after the customer had tried to shift into 4th gear on the highway but accidentally forced it into reverse, which resulted in this mess. When the pre-purchase inspection works as it should. This guy had used quite a decent amount of stop leak to try and save a few bucks on replacing the cooler, but it wasn't super successful. This Audi rolled into the shop because it had quite the misfire. The mechanics found a broken cam lobe that was rotating on the camshaft to be the main culprit. This car came in because it had quite the leak. The owner of this Ford F-150 came in with quite the list of problems after they apparently hit a stone Spider-Man garden sculpture while taking a shortcut on an unmarked road. And this Chevy SUV somehow drove into the shop looking like this. Why have only one when you can have two? And this mechanic just wanted to share a tip on how to quickly get weather strippings out from behind the trim panels without having to use your finger. Just take a drill with a 7mm on it and let it rip. Customer came in saying, had squishy brakes for a while, so I had another mechanic look at the car and he told me that everything looked fine but that I just need to replace the brake fluid. This mobile mechanic was called in to come help a customer who said they'd been driving on the highway when suddenly feeling the car slipping away from them. The owner of this GMC Sierra rolled in because he had a clunking sound when turning after he had done some suspension work on it, all by himself. Customer states, car runs a bit warm, haven't changed coolant in a while, but maybe it's time. And this car had quite the leaking problem. And this customer was in with their semi-truck for some work when the mechanic noticed that their trailer had had some pretty interesting DIY work done to it. And this car was in for an oil and filter change, but the customer first had to explain to the mechanic how he would actually start it, as it had a special starting mechanism. When your transmission fluid starts looking like this, you're lucky to still have a transmission left. The owner of this truck said that he had a whining noise from his differential ever since he towed a livestock trailer on a pretty muddy road the week prior. Customer came in complaining about a wobbly steering wheel and that the brakes work when they feel like it. The owner of this semi-truck came in with one of his tires looking like this. Apparently, he had parked at a local gas station for the night and gone in to buy some snacks for the evening when he got into an argument with the owner and woke up to this the next morning. The owner of this car needed some new headlights but couldn't find the right bulb size, so he improvised a bit. This van rolled in for a safety inspection and this is what the mechanics found. This customer came in after they failed a safety inspection test. I wonder why. The owner of this Ford Explorer came in saying that he thinks he might need a new battery because the car was apparently really difficult to start. Turns out that the customer had bought one too many gadgets off of Amazon, and unplugging them all fixed the problem. This Ford SUV came in because the customer complained about lots of road noise when driving on the highway. This customer rolled in after they had installed a new sport exhaust system on their truck and wanted the mechanic to have a look and make sure it all looked good. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and until next time.